Franklin County Commissioners meeting, November 1st, 2017.
Good morning. It is 9 o'clock, and we're here for our regular board meeting for November 1, Wednesday. We have a full complement of commissioners this morning. Keith, our administrator, Karen, our clerk, and we do have an audience. And if you would stand and join me with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on the agenda this morning is our Public Works. Welcome to join us, Craig and Matt.
Mr. Chairman, morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Matt.
We had quite a good conversation yesterday about this specific item at our budget workshop. That just kind of remind everybody, this is for the award of the magnesium chloride solution de-icer contract, and this we're recommending it be awarded to Roadwise Inc. This is the material that's used for all of our anti-icing and de-icing work that we do throughout these months through the summer, through the winter as well. So with that, we'll just be available for any questions.
I guess I don't see a number. How much are you purchasing this year, Matt?
We put in there, kind of our baseline is 200 tons.
Okay.
That's what our planned quantity is, but the way that the bids are received is they're made aware that it can be plus or minus, so we have the ability to
purchase as needed. Okay. And how much can you store? I'm sorry.
500 gallons or 5,000 gallons in Pasco, and then Connell has I want to say it's like a 500 gallon tank. I think. So they use it to refill every once in a while.
So do you compute that the same as you do with water, for instance, 8 gallons, 8 pound a gallon?
Yeah, it runs about 10.6 pounds per gallon.
Okay.
We used about 100 ton last year.
Or gallons per ton.
For gallons per ton.
Yeah.
Is that right? Seems like a lot.
I thought he was saying pounds per gallon.
Yeah.
Pounds per gallon.
Water is 8 pounds a gallon, for instance.
When you said it's 10 something a gallon, I thought, wow, that's what we call heavy water in the nuke business.
Yeah.
So, Matt, we did talk about this a little bit yesterday. The contract, when you put it out, do you guarantee a minimum quantity purchased?
No, we don't.
Have you considered that if you did, that might get us a little bit better price? I realize you can go up and down, but if they're at risk of a small purchase with delivery, something to think about.
Yeah, we do have minimum deliveries.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, that's per load, but we're just talking about the contract. If I were bidding on it and I knew that you were going to buy a minimum of X thousand, then I might be able to sharpen my pencil a little bit because the way the contract is put out, it sounds like your minimum could have been 1,000 as well if you found another supply or didn't use as much as you thought you were going to. You know what I'm saying? The other thing is we talked a little bit about backstock. Is the price this year about average, a little high, a little low?
Our average price last year was about $1.02 per gallon, and if I computed it right, this will run about $1.05 a gallon.
And do you have any trend data over the last several years to know if
It's gone up.
Yeah.
I mean, in 2016, the per ton price was 155 and some change. 2017 was 179.41. And
what year was?
that's for 2016 and for 2017. So what we did last year was the 155, and what we're doing, what the bids came in this year is 179. So that's an increase of about 15.6%.
All right, so I think you might have switched units of measure there on me? We're
Yeah,
talking
we're in tons.
dollars per tons. Okay, so what was it in 16?
In 16, when we put this out, which was good for the winter of 2016, 2017, it was 155.15,
Okay,
and that's dollars per ton.
that was our last buy. Okay,
Yeah, and bids came in at 179.41.
okay. And I don't suppose you happen to know what they were in 17 or in 15? Excuse me.
We do, we just unfortunately didn't include that in this, but we can certainly get that.
Well, do you know offhand? Was it less than 16?
I think that it stayed pretty close to the same. I want to say my memory was right around maybe 152 or somewhere in there.
That sounds about right.
Okay, so where I'm going with all this is that last year we had a heavy winter and they actually didn't deliver
Yeah,
because they had so much demand. And they may have had contracts with other people at higher per ton rates, if you follow me. So when you do these contracts, that suggests that we have a minimum that we'll agree to buy so that they've got more certainty and can lower the price. And at the same time, a minimum guaranteed delivery so we don't end up like we did last year where they said, sorry, we're out.
yeah.
So buy some priority, but also give them some certainty in the contract. I think we might do a little better. If this number, I'm not surprised it went up because predictions for winter this year are like last year, and they ran out last year. So, of course, they're going to bump the price a little bit, but I'm just thinking that we might be thinking, since we've got capacity to store a whole lot more, that we do those three things. We guarantee a minimum purchase, we get some priority by making them give us a guaranteed minimum delivery amount, and because we have backstock storage capability, that we offer to buy larger quantities if they discount for the larger quantities. So if you do those three things, I think it'd help.
Yeah, and remember, one of the things you brought up even last year was, increasing our capacity, storage capacity, and we're looking at doing that
Okay.
as well. So we want to get a very similar sized tank in Connell. We'll be able to.
What's the size of the tank here?
It's 5,000 gallon tank.
Okay.
It sits in the Pasco yard. And like I said, it would really be nice to have that at Connell. It would save the county money, first off, exactly what Commissioner Peck is speaking about.
Yeah.
But also the transport where Connell coming down, filling in Pasco, and then hauling back up to their area.
You've used an awful lot of it up north. It's just ridiculous to haul it from here when you can get them to deliver it there.
Correct.
All right.
As you know, the Connell area certainly sees at times a lot more winter than we do down here.
Right.
It's more of a Harper County, so that's our goal for 2018. We would have had it there, but like I said, because of the extra expenditures with the flooding, we imposed an internal spending freeze to make sure that we had enough money to get to the end of the year. So.
And Matt, I want to make sure I didn't just assume something, but I didn't see anything in any of the paperwork that required them to deliver a guaranteed minimum. There wasn't, was there?
No,
So I mean, if they suddenly ran short of supply, or they had some other person that was paying $2 a gallon or $200 a ton, we could see our delivery go like this. There is no guaranteed minimum delivery. That's what I was getting to.
No, that's great.
All right.
We'll make sure we
Well,
take care of that.
demand goes up, suddenly supply goes down, and other people are willing to pay more, we could be short. Thanks. All right, Mr. Chairman, if there's no other questions, move for approval of County Resolution 2017-322, entitled awarding 2017 magnesium chloride solution de-icer bid to the Roadwise Inc. of Spokane, Washington, all as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nothing else for us, all remain in the audience if the board has any
Yeah, okay.
later on.
Yeah, Matt, there's another item on the agenda that, actually, it's the next item on the agenda, so if you'd stick around for that one, it'd be great.
Come on, Carly.
Morning.
So there's some precedent.
Ready?
Okay.
Okay. So the annual leave policy for non-bargaining employees allows for an elected official or department head to request an employee's advancement in the annual leave accrual schedule. And I'm here today on behalf of the sheriff requesting an advancement in the leave accrual schedule for Corrections Lieutenant Patrick Reniger. As I indicated in the read ahead, the sheriff is requesting advancement based on the lieutenant's performance and the integral part he plays in the county's jail improvement process, including our compliance with the jail litigation settlement. Lieutenant Reniger's background as well as his experience since coming to the county are necessary to retain in order to avoid interruption of the improvement process. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. And I'm guessing the sheriff must have gotten tied up. He is not here, but.
So this is an employee that was hired and then is now hired here. Now he moved from his job and he had accrual vacation. He wants to carry that on over here. He wants to continue the time he has in the past.
No, he is an employee of the county. He's worked here for about a year and a half.
Okay.
What the sheriff is requesting is that his previous experience be taken into account and that he be advanced in our accrual schedule and that he accrue at the level of that of a longer tenured employee.
So accrual of everything, vacation, he just gets brought up to
Vacation. It's vacation specifically.
That's what I was getting
Yes, vacation leave.
It says it right here on the agenda,
So, Carly, we've had conversations over the years about total compensation versus salary versus benefits, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but my perception is that you've been of the opinion that total compensation includes everything, but really compensation is more the salary piece, and the benefits piece is of a different character, and that's how we justify giving more money for health benefits, say, to a family than we do to an individual, or at least that's been the premise, is that you can give more to a family than an individual because it's not actually compensation, it's benefits.
Correct.
Okay, are you on board with me so far?
Yes.
Okay, so when I hear a request like this and the justification for it is based on performance, when it's in my mind, a benefit, health, vacation, those kinds of
Sure.
things to me are in benefits box. So the notion that it's warranted based on performance doesn't fit for me with all the other discussions we've had.
Sure.
It does fit in terms of retention and hiring, but the individual's already been hired, so we didn't need it, obviously, to hire the individual. So now we're down to just the retention piece. And that I do think is legitimate and warranted, but I just wanted to kind of air it out because we have not done this for other employees who have come here with 10, 15, 20 years of experience. And I realize that the policy that you've already pointed out provides discretion. It didn't happen with some employees because managers didn't come in and ask for it. If they had, those people would have gotten the same consideration. So am I still on track? Do you agree with all that?
Yes, the last time the board granted anything like this was at the hiring of the corrections commander, administrator, and the undersheriff. When Sheriff Raymond came into office, he requested an advancement for those two positions. Those employees were granted that in early 2015.
Well, for my own sake of clarity and for the sake of other employees who are likely listening and for consistency in our policies, I just want to get those 3 or 4 points clear on the record. One is, it's a policy, it's not automatic, and it's up to really the hiring authority to decide whether or not they want to request that.
Yes.
2, it's my opinion that it's legitimate as an incentive to hire and as a retention, but it really is part of benefits, not total compensation. And so, having said all that, I think that the rate of compensation for corrections workers and the shortage of highly skilled, experienced people together would justify supporting this one. I want to have that all on the record because there will be other employees who will say, well, I didn't know about this policy. I'd like my boss to request the same thing. And I want to be real clear what my support is based on is the unique nature of the corrections environment, how much difficulty we're having getting people there. It isn't because the person has X number of years of experience. Because we have lots of employees who have lots of previous experience who aren't getting the same benefit. Okay, thanks. Any of that, did I get off track? You good with all that? Okay.
I'm good with all that.
All right.
And you clarified that really well, I think, on the situation, but at the same time, we are going to have a lot of people coming back wanting to do this. And I understand the nature of the jeopardies of hiring, I get it, but is it equal, is it fair, is it consistent? And I have a problem telling one group you can't and the other group you can. So it's a tough one for me in the fact that we're doing a favor for somebody, if you will, or doing a benefit for somebody, and not for the rest.
Obviously, he knew what he was getting into when he hired on a year and a half ago, and very good chances are he had a buyout from his last employer, so I'm having a hard time supporting him.
Can I speak to that last point? A buyout from your last employer is compensation for days that you sold back for the service there. This is forward-looking accrual based on this, and I agree in terms of looking at it as part of compensation because we've historically separated those and put compensation here and benefits here. I can separate those. If this were a position where we could put out an ad tomorrow and next week we could have a list of qualified applicants, I would have a different opinion. But I've seen how much difficulty we're having hiring corrections people with the requisite experience to meet the court order demands in the agreement we made to settle a class action lawsuit. And so in my mind, it's a critical position. That's the basis for my willingness to make an exception because I think you know me well enough that normally I'd be on that side of this issue. So there you go. So, Mr. Chairman, if there's no other discussion, I'll go ahead and make the motion. If there's no second, then obviously it'll die for lack of a second, but that is the process. Are we ready to proceed?
Please.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, move for approval of Franklin County Resolution 2017-323, titled Advancing Corrections Lieutenant Patrick Renninger on Vacation Accrual Schedule, as presented, and that's the motion. I'll just add a personal note, which is that my basis is because of the unique character, as I've already said, of this position and the importance of it to the county's success in staying out of litigation.
Can you explain that last part, staying out of litigation?
Well, we have made an agreement.
Yes, okay, I see that.
And if we don't adhere to that agreement, then we'll find ourselves right back in court. But I've already said that before I made the motion. I probably shouldn't have repeated it. So the motion's on the table.
Okay. Well, I'm not ready to second it at this time. I'm just not quite there yet on being unequal.
Pass that down.
Dies for a lack of second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. Lauren?
Morning. What we got in front of you today is a resolution formally initiating or starting our periodic update for our comprehensive plan and a draft proposal for you to approve for a public participation work plan that will be used to help guide the planning and public participation and outline kind of the public's opportunity to be involved in the update process, developed by our consultant AHBL on the. And so it kind of has some dates in there of planned kind of public meetings. Those are noted as, subject to change, but kind of outlines the whole plan for public involvement, and outlines kind of the process by which we will follow to go through the update process.
policies with repeal.
This will basically start soon, but when's the end date?
End date, we're still trying to get it. We're a little behind schedule, but we're mandated to try and get this completed by the end of June 2018.
Roughly 6 or 7.
Yeah. So it's kind of an aggressive schedule, but since it's a periodic update, not a total complete rework, we're hoping we can meet that timeline.
And am I reading that right? The total cost is 26,000, 20 for 17, 20,000, 26,000 for 18.
Yeah,
It costs about 40,000.
about 40, yeah, a little over 40. About 46 or something.
And the state used to and the state used to give us money for that, a grant.
Correct.
No longer.
Yeah,
So
there's
I
no
don't know if
grants.
I don't know if we,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, we don't really have a choice.
That's right.
Full County County.
That's correct.
Any county.
That's a problem called
Yeah.
state law.
Kind of on the hook to do it, so.
Yeah. So, having seen a number of these contracts over the years for the shoreline plan and others, while it is a lot of money, it doesn't appear to be a lot of money in context of those other planning efforts. That's my first impression. If I remember under GMA, once we do this, we've got to do it again every 8 years, I think it is.
Correct.
What was the window from the last time?
The county updated in 2008 we were mandated early on in 2003 to include best available science.
Okay.
And then there was some issues with the ag community, and that got, how should I say it?
Discussed.
Yeah, discussed, but the state put a moratorium on ag lands for a while. And then Franklin County in 2008 updated the critical areas code to include best available science. So some of the update work in that sense has been done. Some are doing that update of best available science as part of this update process.
Okay, a couple other quick questions. One, I noticed in the coordination it lists people who have seen it. As you've heard me say many times, and I will continue to say, routing is, here's a list of who's seen it. Coordination is a list of here's who's seen it in their position, support, oppose, or no opinion. So I'm just going to assume that because you've listed them under coordination, what you mean is all these people that reviewed it can support it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox now, but I'm going to keep saying it until somebody changes that.
Yeah, and to let you know, I did review this and did look for it, and that was a specific discussion I had. The problem was with this is it was prepared by, the plan was prepared by Nicole, Sean was reviewed by.
Talking about the form is all that.
Yeah.
It says coordination.
So,
As a decision maker, it's important to me to know not only who has seen it, but whether or not they support it.
Yeah, so I figured with my signature, I supported it, and Lauren was presenting it, and so we didn't present it to anybody else other than what was listed on there, so.
Yeah, well, I'm going to assume that if Keith had a problem with it, he would have called me. But Nicole, who has proven to be a very valuable source, and hasn't always held the same opinion that the staff has.
Yeah.
It would be nice. Anyway, you know where I'm coming from.
Yes.
And now I forgot what the other question was. Let's see, we're fully planning 8 years. You told me about, the public participation piece for people in the audience and people who will probably later listen to the recording. How will folks in the community know when they have opportunities to participate and put input into this plan?
We'll be putting notices in the newspaper, also planning on setting up a specific website with an outline of the process and
Will you put a
where it'll
link
be
on the
posted.
homepage of the county's
Yes.
website so they can go to the county's website? There'll be a link there that'll take them specifically to this project?
Yeah, that'd be my
When you say
recommendation.
the paper, you mean the paper of record, the Franklin County record?
We'll probably do both papers, the paper, the official paper for the county and the local paper circulation.
The graphic, the graphic, yeah.
I said record, I misspoke, I meant record.
Yeah.
But it'll also be in the Herald.
Yeah.
So it'll be in the graphic, it'll be in
And
the
in the
Herald,
Herald.
it'll be on the county's website. And what's the first opportunity coming up for people to get involved?
We're going to present the outline to the Planning Commission this coming Tuesday.
Okay, that's an open public meeting.
Yeah, it's an
right
open public meeting right here in this chamber. And then at that point, we get to kind of confirm the meeting dates with them, and as soon as we have those, we'll start to post them on our website.
Okay, and last question, would you, just for the sake of the audience and others, give us like a 15-second summary of why participation in this is important to our ag community, farmers, and frankly, everybody in the county?
Well,
Everybody who's on the fence about whether or not they want to voice their opinion.
Yeah.
It has potentially huge impacts.
Yeah, the periodic update of the comprehensive plan reviews all of our goals and policies related to the growth of our communities, the growth of our residential areas, and ultimately the amount of growth or expansion or change that will occur in the agricultural communities. Also incorporates, we're being mandated to incorporate the Shorelines Act into in ag together, as well as the VSP program and how that's going to interrelate in the future with our comprehensive plan. And we're also going to be addressing some policies related to the Hearst decision, which will address our access to water.
So it'd be fair to say it has potential for significant direct impacts on how people can use their private land.
That's correct.
It's a big deal, that's why I wanted to make a point. Okay. Mr. Chairman, that's all I've got.
Questions or entertain a motion?
Okay, not hearing any other questions. Move for approval of Franklin County Resolution 2017-324, which is initiating the 2018-2038 Comprehensive Plan periodic update and adopting a public participation plan for the update as presented. And just note that this is a necessary step to comply with state law. It's not a locally derived action.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Rick, you are up.
Okay, this is a direction that I have been following for quite a while, and I understand other commissioners have too. This is not a anti-union movement. I want to make that clear first of all. What this is a transparency issue that we have with counties, taxpayer money from the counties. And this is for approval of open public meetings with union and bargaining negotiations. And what I would propose at this time to make this transparent, like we did at this meeting today, is to ask for a later date for an ordinance, public meeting to approve an ordinance, to look at an ordinance. And to me, that's going to be about December 1st because we have WASAC and a few things going on. So that is my thoughts on this issue. And I don't know if anybody wants to make another motion on it or whatever. So
did I understand you correctly to say that you think we should pass a motion essentially the same as what Lincoln County did to make these negotiations open and public, but that we hold off taking action on it until December 1st, give or take?
Yeah, I believe we need to do that. We need to get some, a little more time to research maybe, for everybody now that we're together and you know, have an open public meeting at that time on this issue.
Well, I spent a little time on the phone with Rob Hoffman the other day, Lincoln County Commissioner, and they aren't out of the woods yet.
No, they're not.
And they won't have a final paper from the judge until sometime in February or March. And then there's an appeal process, so I don't see this coming back to us until sometime in the spring or the summer.
If the question I have is if we have a motion or an ordinance and then the PERC comes back later, what, we just reverse this opinion, our motion? Rescind, or is there any legal And I'm looking at you, Carly, on this answer. Is there any legal repercussions with this?
Well, I'll look at the attorneys for any.
I didn't know you went to law school.
Well, I was looking at human services just because of, I know I talked to her about her situation, and maybe the attorneys is where you need to go, and that's fine. Should we have one sitting back here?
Well, okay. I'll tell you, just like the two of you, I've looked at this, and I'm a big believer in transparency in government. Some folks in the audience know me personally. They know I'm not just a believer in it, I'm pretty staunch on it. But I'm also of a mind that you always start with your objective or your desired outcome in mind. And if the outcome is to have open, transparent discussions and do this all in the light of day, which I support, then you should find a way to do it that doesn't put you in court, cost the citizens a lot of money in litigation fees, and other downsides. And so normally we look at these situations and we say, well, that's your opinion, we probably won't end up in litigation. The fact of the matter is, in this case, we have empirical evidence in front of us. Lincoln County went forward, they did this. They had a challenge before PERC, the Public Employment Relations Commission, sorry, drew a blank there for a minute. And they passed that first hurdle, but then there was a second one filed, and it's unclear whether or not this one is going to be successful in the courts. And the reality is, until we have that answer, it seems to me it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to follow that path. I much prefer, as I said, to look at it from an outcome standpoint and say, well, what's the desired outcome? Well, it's to open these discussions and negotiations up to the public. Well, begs the obvious question, is there some other way to do that that doesn't have the inherent potential for litigation or a PERC challenge? And the answer is yeah, there's other ways to do that. As has been suggested to me, if you put 2 or 3 commissioners on the negotiating team, then by virtue of a quorum of the Board of Commissioners, it's automatically a public meeting and it's automatically open. And you don't have a PERC challenge, you don't have a litigation risk, you don't have a cost to the county. I mean, that's just one manner that you could accomplish the same desired outcome without all the inherent risks. And so my concern is I don't think that we have drawn on the expertise that's available to us to look at options to accomplish the same desired outcome without stubbing our toe the way I think others have by launching forward without a good comprehensive review. We've got a gentleman with an awful lot of experience that we've hired to assist us with negotiations. I suspect he'd probably be willing to have a conversation with us about a desire to be more transparent in our processes and do it in a way that doesn't run afoul of PERC or the law. So for all those reasons, I would say that, well, I think the underlying motivation is good. I don't think we have sufficient input to really make a good decision. I think we ought to look at those other options to accomplish the same outcome without the risk. Or something like that.
Well, I think...
And interestingly enough, I'm the one that brought this up a year ago and said I think we ought to look at this. But it was the risks in the litigation that caused me to think that, well, the objective is still good. The path that we were on, the mechanism that others has used is problematic and not one that I'm willing to support because it's going to drag the people of Franklin County into litigation, and they're the ones paying the bill, not me.
So this, with the PERC situation now going on, and I understand we got a letter and it said February 1st or so, they're supposed to have let's see what it says there. February 1st, there's supposed to be an opinion or a decision. Yeah, around that time. It seems like these things always get bumped unless a month or 2 later, but I'm willing to wait until that time to see, what that action is.
PERC actually kind of runs on their own time, so.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get back to us, you can show the side a little bit.
Well, as I say, the Lincoln County Commissioner suggested to hold off until it was final, and have the possibility of appeal, and then so a clean slate, and not have to worry about litigation.
I really think there's two questions here, frankly. One is, do we have a desire to make these processes and discussions more open and transparent? I think we should. Then the second question is, if a majority or if all of us agree that that's the direction we want to move, then we need to decide how much and by what mechanism. And I think given that the mechanism that's being proposed today is causing problems for Lincoln County, I don't see any reason for us to head down the same path, at least as you suggest, wait and see how theirs comes out, or adopt one of these other approaches that I don't think have really seen much discussion.
And the Kittitas County is also in the same situation. They haven't moved yet on it either, my understanding. They're, I think, going to wait and see also. And go with that, we'll just go ahead and delay this until time comes where we can make a decision without any litigation problems for the county.
Well, Mr. Chairman, just as a point of order and to note the process, I think Commissioner Miller started the discussion and used the term, that is my motion, and so it's just necessary for the record for the motion to fail for lack of a second, just so that we're clean on our Robert's
I
rules.
don't recall saying motion. I think that was my idea or my plan.
I'm just trying to keep the process straight. I made a note of it when you said it.
Yeah, I don't think there was a motion. It wasn't second anyway if there was. So.
Okay. Yeah. Just trying to keep us legal.
Okay, fine. We'll look at this in the future.
All right. With that, we're into the public comment period of our agenda. Yes, sir.
Good morning, sirs. My name is John Cloud. I'm here to address Franklin County in retrospect to what happened at 1019 West Park. There was a man asphyxiated at 1019 West Park in my father's home on the 18th of October during my daddy's funeral. Pasco Police Department had to go down to the funeral home and remove Archie Cloud and, quote, Debbie Rolski Cloud from the funeral to go back to 1019 West Park to take the body of John Hunt out of the home. Mind you, day before yesterday, I got a signed judgment from the judge stating that I am allowed to return home with all of my benefits reinstated to me. We were asking for an acquisition. My brother, I've got the proof, negligently and neglectfully let John Hunt stay inside of that home with David Allen Bissell, knowing that there is no utilities. You gentlemen being commissioners, you know one of your first duties as a commissioner is to be able to assure the health, welfare, and safety of our people. And I don't believe that includes asphyxiations. I believe that what you guys are is you want to be able to see people pay their bills respectfully. Those that step up to the plate that are going to be taking care or stepping up and saying they have power of attorney over their father, doing an adequate job. Not trying to hide the information in the paper saying John Hunt died in his own home, to be able to protect the entity of Debbie Rolski Cloud, Catholic Family Services, and her son, Ken Rolski Cloud, captain of Pasco Police Department. Sirs, this is a very, very, very impacting matter. Me and my counsel that I choose at this time not to mention, we feel that we need to be able to go into acquisition if there needs to be some type of justice. You know, if John Cloud was to have done a matter so neglectful, I'd be sitting where you guys have seen me a lot, over on the other side of the walls there, awaiting arraignments and a trip to Shelton. You know, true love to one's self requires true correction. And when people can become diligent to the laws, we might be able to have a stronger network in our community. But you know, everything starts with us. I'm stepping forward as the brother of Archie Cloud, and I'm able to go down to PUD and get you the bills, and over here to the water department to show you the bills the way they were in my daddy's name. My dad deserved to be able to die with dignity, not to have some type of malice like this. And I would like to ask the county to be able to review this matter. If you'd like to be able to see the filings from the judge where she signed dismissal without prejudice. She said enough was enough. So here I am as a sound, sober man, coming to the mercy of my commissioners. By the way, our first commissioner that we ever heard of was Jacob, and that was in biblical times. Jacob's ladder was not designed to climb up, but they were up at higher elevations, so they could bring help to the people. Paul take help out here. They would descend down the ladder to be able to look over the people. They had a higher elevation. Likewise, that's what you fellows are commissioned into being able to do too, is being like Jacob, being able to take that help where it is needed. And I come to the mercy humbly to my commissioners to be able to ask for them to be able to look at the matters of the John Hunt death. I'm requesting an acquisition. I've got all the facts, and I've got my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, behind me who gives me strength. And I'm coming here honestly and humbly and asking for my commissioners to be able to do their duty for the health, welfare, and safety of not only me, but my community. Thank you.
So, Mr. Cloud, are you open to a couple of questions?
I certainly am, sir.
Okay. So you said you're asking for an acquisition.
Acquisition on the death of John Hunt.
Okay, I'm just going to tell you straight up, I don't know what that is.
Acquisition means where they need to open up and they need to be able to do an investigation and be able to see who is responsible for the said property.
So an investigation?
Yes.
Okay, so you're looking for an investigation
into where they can give Dan Bladsdell the authority to be able to step forward with acquisition and be able to do the true investigation as it is supposed to be done.
Are you perhaps referring to an inquest?
Inquest. That's an inquest. I'm sorry.
So you're here requesting an inquest?
Inquest. Yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention to you guys as well, I also have Asperger's syndrome. So a little bit of my terminology may be off.
Well, we're just having a discussion. I'm just trying to...
Inquest.
Understanding is important. Okay, so you're here seeking an inquest.
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the risk of sounding like I'm saying you're talking to the wrong people, I need to give you the factual basis for an answer.
Yes, sir.
We have numerous independently elected officials at the county level.
Yes, sir.
The coroner is one of those.
Dan.
And while we have authority over fiscal matters as the executive branch of county government, and while we make county laws and ordinances as the legislative branch,
yes, sir,
the coroner is an independent elected, and we don't have discretion or authority over matters of him executing his duties under state law. In other words, we don't have authority to tell the coroner to do an inquest, nor do we have the authority to tell him he can't do an inquest.
Okay, so could you tell me what would my proper venue be, considering my dad was in a nursing home when he...
Let me speak to the specifics so that we can get right to the point of it. You're asking for an inquest.
Yes, sir.
The person who has the authority to undertake an inquest is the coroner.
Yes, sir.
To my knowledge, there's no one else who has that authority.
Yes, sir.
That is the individual I believe you need to be speaking to. He is an independent elected official.
Does he have an office in the building?
He does, and if an independent elected official doesn't perform in the way that a citizen or citizens would like them to, then your recourse is literally at the ballot box come election time. But we don't have the authority as a Board of Commissioners to direct an inquest. I hate to say that because the reality is I don't like it when government says not my job, but we legally don't have the authority.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
With Debbie Rolsky-Cloud being quote-unquote a bi-county pillar, with Catholic Family Services, the seriousness of the nature, and her son being the captain of Pasco Police Department, and the Herald, Tri-City Herald that is, saying that John Hunt died in his home, and not being clear to the people that he died in the home of Hamilton W. Stormy Cloud of 67 years. So to be able to hide that information, to be able to protect their positions, I believe that's called official misconduct. And that could be affidavit of felony.
So you're asking for us to assist you with getting an inquest.
I desperately am for the people.
I think I've addressed that. We can certainly put you in touch with the coroner. His office is right here in the courthouse, and somebody in the front office can show you where that is.
Okay.
And I think that's a very complete and candid response to your request. Okay. As for the other matters, if you've got other specific things,
yes,
where you're alleging misconduct on the part of county or by-county employees,
yes,
then I think I would refer you to the prosecuting attorney's office where you can lodge those complaints or those allegations.
Okay, because we're going to be having a change of venue in the matter. It's very serious.
Okay.
Okay. I hope I addressed myself in a humble manner, and I want you guys to be able to see this is.
I think you did fine. I just wanted to be sure we understood what you were asking for, and we gave you a clear answer.
I thank you very much, and you guys are doing a good job with it.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
Any other comments? Morning.
Good morning. Kent McMullen, 3108 Tuscany Drive, Pasco. My question, I would have questions of Public Works Director Matt Mahoney, if I might, regarding magnesium chloride solution and the storage of that material.
We tend to prefer that you ask us the questions and then we'll put them on the spot.
Very good. So one of the questions I have is stated that there are 5,000 gallons capacity. One of my questions is, does magnesium chloride require stainless steel tanks, or will plastic tanks suffice? And that is approximately, I believe it said, went through 100 tons in the 2016-2017 winter. So that's just a little under 4 tanker loads of delivery. And I was wondering if greater tank storage capacity would facilitate greater storage, and also in the bidding process of saying we would like 4 tanker loads to get the lower price, to facilitate a lower price. And if, rather than purchasing tanks, if there had ever been any consideration of negotiations with local fertilizer companies for cone-bottom stainless steel tanks or plastic tanks, because this is an off-season period of time where they have literally hundreds of tanks available. And of course, at the end of March or April, these tanks could be at their low point and cleaned out, and any remaining materials transferred to the current 5,000 gallon tank that the county owns. And it would possibly facilitate a larger purchase at a time, and without having to invest in the equipment for that purpose. And my understanding was, if I heard correctly, 10.6 pounds per gallon on the material, which is a little lighter than fertilizer on a pound per gallon basis. So therefore, the weight of the material and the corrosive nature of the material, it's important to carry a whole tanker load at a time. And that's just a little under 4 full tanks, tanker loads, truck tanker loads. And 5,000 gallon capacity does not allow them to deliver quite what a full tanker load weighs, so the transportation costs go up. And you're absolutely correct in stating that if they could deliver in Connell and have the facilities there for greater capacity, you'd probably get being in transportation savings and transferring the product from the nearby Pasco storage up to Connell using county trucking to accommodate that. So that's the questions I would have. Thank you.
The one thing I have concern with is, I love the idea that we're purchasing at a time when the cost may be lower and when there's not a demand. But, however, I've seen it before when there's a weather, shouldn't have been as bad last year and it was, and then there's years that are supposed to be bad and they're not. What would we do with all that if we have it sitting there, especially in a chemical one? Because what I understand is this weather season, long-term future analysis of what the weather is going to do, forecast is it's going to be shorter than last, later and shorter, what I understood. In other words, not as bad as last year, but if we prepare for last year and it doesn't come, it's more rain, maybe not as much, but what we're going to do with all that chemical if we have those tanks. I think it's a great idea, but I'd hate to be stuck with those in there and no place to put this stuff.
So Matt, real quick, corrosive, does it require plastic or stainless or either one or something else?
Either one.
Either one.
Our storage tank is a very thick metal plastic
Okay,
tank.
thank you. So plastic, stainless, both good. We use plastic. Mr. McMullen, the idea of using vacant capacity is interesting, and Matt, I think it's something we want to look at. My guess is, if I were a farmer, unless there were some tertiary benefit to me, I wouldn't probably want to have that stuff stored in my tank. I'd probably want to be compensated for that. And so the collective cost of compensation to lease those tanks over time would probably buy us a plastic tank. Just a thought, but I mean, it's worth investigating. It's a good suggestion. There might be a less than obvious benefit, which is it might give us the ability to distribute the material throughout the county and make it more accessible and reduce costs that way. And that might be the benefit that justifies leasing tanks as opposed to buying or building one. And then lastly, Matt, I think we had a conversation which I asked you about the shelf life of this material, and you said it's long, it's multi-years. And so if we could get it purchased at a good rate, both by buying it in advance and buying it in very large quantities, then additional tanks and possibly these tanks might make sense. So I'd ask you to look at that. And then the last thing was, we tend to buy it this time of year, which to me, because of its shelf life and our storage capacity, doesn't make any sense at all. I'd be buying it in April.
Ken's exactly right as far as a transfer load is 9,000 gallon. Let's say it means the tankers to save from having to drop a half a load or haul a half a load, either one. So if we can get a tanker load storage, it'll be cheaper.
And again, it's not a good idea because at the same time we use that first. If we did lease one or something and use it first, so it was empty by spring. But just to mention, I've seen these weather forecasts not be correct sometimes. I hate to store up too much of that stuff. No place to go with it.
Thoughts to work with.
Do we answer all your questions, Ken?
I believe so. If the product has a problem with precipitants in the bottom of the tank, it can be accommodated by setting up a tank with two valves where you merely take a plastic impeller transfer pump and route it through on suction and return back to the same tank to stir it up, and once again return it into full solution.
I think it's something we have to look at.
Low cost to do so.
Good idea.
You know where to find Matt, right?
I do.
Okay.
I know where to find him right now.
I know. I know you guys have had lots of good conversations on other topics, and I've always found Kent's ideas to be pretty sound. So,
Thanks. Any further?
Good morning. My name is Kevin Doherty. I'm a staff representative for the Washington State Council of County and City Employees. I represent all the courthouse organized employees and the appraisers for Franklin County. Our union also represents public works for Franklin County. I'd like to thank the commissioners for taking time to read the information that our union supplied you concerning the open public meetings. We feel it's very important that you read this information and understand it. One of the talking points, you pretty well covered everything except for one thing I wanted to bring up, is the fact that this measure really unfairly targets represented employees. Non-represented management employees are still free to negotiate their wages, hours, and benefits outside public hearings. So I'd ask you to ask yourself the question, why is this strictly aimed at organized labor? So, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Kevin.
I'll just say that if we do it open for one, in my opinion, we should do it open for all. I absolutely agree with your point.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Austin DiPaolo. I'm a business agent with Teamsters Local 839. We're based here in Pasco on West Sylvester. In Franklin County, in the public sector, we represent the bailiffs, the only bailiffs in the state that carry sidearms. We represent the juvenile detention officers and the Connell Police Department. In the private sector in Franklin County, we represent the 600 workers over at Lamb Weston. That's our largest group. So it's long been understood that maintaining confidentiality in the public sector union negotiations helps ensure good faith bargaining. Deals require candor. Opening contract hearings would invite political influence that could impede the ability of negotiators to speak frankly. It paves the way for grandstanding. The Freedom Foundation, the Olympia-based anti-union think tank, would welcome any attempt to open union negotiations. Their purpose to us really isn't transparency, but to weaken workers' rights. So again, this isn't about transparency, but a wolf in sheep's clothing that compromises good faith bargaining and weakens the rights of those workers, many of whom do the grunt work of our county. Thank you for your time.
Any other comments?
Just an observation that going forward, we ought to look for opportunities for empirical evidence. If there are public entities, whether they're in our county, in our state, in the country, where we can look pre and post and see what the effect of open public discussions has been. Has it had a tendency to decrease, diminish, undermine benefits and wages for employees? Has it been used for grandstanding? I'm not taking a position on whether or not any of those observations are accurate or not, just saying that I believe that there's great value in empirical evidence, and if this has been done somewhere else and there's enough history now to look back and see what the impact has been, that would be, I think, very instructive.
With that, time to pay the bills.
Looks like we have a few. Mr. Chairman, today we have some salary payroll matters and some fund expenditures. We'll start with the latter. Move for approval of fund expenditures in the total amount of $257,951.92. Note for the record, this has been reviewed and signed by 2 representatives of the auditor's office, and it's also been reviewed by the county administrator.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, move for approval of salary clearing payroll and emergency management payroll in the total amount of $997,290.88. Note for the record, this has been reviewed and signed by 2 representatives of the auditor's office.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
With that, we have, moving on, the consent agenda of 5 items today.
And Mr. Chairman, move for approval of the consent agenda as presented with 5 items.
We'll look through those real quick. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
As soon as we're finished with the signatures here, we'll be moving into executive session, so actually we have 2 on the agenda today, 2 sessions.
Kent, you can be around for a while, or?
A little while, yeah. I'll hold them up as much as I can for you.
No, I just figured that if you were gonna be here for a while, Matt would probably take you lunch.
We're a little early for that.
I know how early you get up. It's probably close to dinner for you.
Well, about 10:30 is lunchtime.
Say, ask Matt a football question.
Hey, Matt? Sorry, I kissed him. I think Keith had a football question.
I was going to say, have Kent ask you a football question, then you'll be able to hold him a while.
Okay. Maybe going on that.
All right, Keith, can we move into
Yes,
Tom's first, and then he can.
Mr. Commissioner, requesting an executive session under RCW 42.30.110, paragraph 1, subparagraph D, reviewing negotiations on performance of publicly bid contracts, up to 15 minutes. I'd ask that Tom French, General Manager of Track, be allowed to participate in that discussion.
Just 10.
Okay, we've expended our 15-minute executive session, and we have not finished our conversation. We need to go back into another 15 with the option to come out early if we have finished our second executive session earlier than required, so we are back in full session. No decisions made.
Mr. Chairman, based on the discussion we just had, my sense is that it might be appropriate at this time for us to try and provide some guidance to staff on a contract matter that we've discussed in the executive session. Of course, we've all been, I think, appropriately sensitive to not making any decisions in executive session, but I think at this point, we probably need to give some direction to staff now that we're back in open public session, whether that requires some sort of a formal decision or we just want to each give our opinion. I would prefer the latter, that we just sort of share our views with Tom and with Keith, and if it turns out that we're all on the same page, then that will serve as direction for him. Is that an acceptable path forward?
Yeah, it certainly is with me. I just might interject that that's all we're looking for, not necessarily a formal decision or vote, but just collective wisdom of the board as to how we move forward. We felt professionally with the obligation to respond to the proposal. So
I don't feel that the second offer from this organization is the best interest of Franklin County at this time.
Look, I'll clear for the record too, what we're talking about is the proposal for naming rights of the track. I don't think that was ever on the record.
It's good. And that was the subject of the executive session, it's just we didn't and couldn't and wouldn't make decisions in executive session. So, Tom, I would add to that, you know, I'm acquainted, I don't have any business relationship with West Coast Auto Dealers, but I think they're a fine organization. Certainly they've got a good track record. So I don't have any inherent opposition to naming rights with them based on who they are or even the type of business that they're in. It's more to do with the branding of the track long term, and does it represent the kind of revenue potential for the people of Franklin County that makes it worth potentially eroding the brand, and at the same time are there other opportunities to generate more revenue that might be more attractive, at least to me at this point. And I'll just use the opportunity to say that I know you're trying to generate additional revenue, you're trying to keep costs down, and I would prefer that instead of going into a branding agreement, I'd rather see us make some improvements to the facility, concrete the arena, do an outdoor arena for the equestrian community, make improvements there so they've got a quality facility. I think that in the end serves the people of Franklin County more. It will provide, I believe, more revenue than the naming rights are ever likely to. And we can keep at the track, which a lot of the folks, especially in North County, I think have a real warm spot in their heart for that name and for its purpose. And I'm just inclined to go along with Commissioner Cook and say, you know, just not quite there. I'd rather see us pursue the other option of the arena.
Comments follow. I just think they're not ready for that in this long term. So the approach idea, we look at other alternatives to profit from the track or to make enough money to cover the cost of track.
And we would be remiss, Tom, and I'm speaking for myself, but I suspect the board would agree, which is we want to express our gratitude to West Coast Auto Dealers. I mean, they've stuck out through this process over many months, more than a year. They're obviously trying to be prominent in the business community, but I think they're also trying to help track, and we're very grateful for that. We don't want to sound or appear in any way dismissive or inconsiderate. On the contrary, we very much appreciate it. And maybe things are different in the future, but I think we've got other paths that we need to be following right now.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Tom.
Next item of business, requesting another executive session, this time under RCW 42.30.140, paragraph 4, contract negotiations, and would request up to 15 minutes, 20 minutes. What do you think, Barbara? 20 minutes, with the option of maybe coming out early, and have and request that Carly Nave, our HR director, be allowed to participate.
Model A. Yeah. Old car, it says. We are out of the executive session and with no decisions made, and we are at the public comment period of our agenda. Seeing no public. Keith, anything else for us today?
No, sir.
Commissioners?
I've got one comment. I'll defer if anybody else has got anything.
Go ahead. I have nothing to do.
I just wanted to kind of close it out and get some feedback from the board. You know, when Mr. Cloud came in and was expressing his concerns, I think we're all real sensitive to saying, sorry, but you got the wrong department. We want to be helpful. We want to be supportive. And of course, because it involved the coroner, that in itself, the issue of the coroner and the inquest, given the history over the last year, can be a little sensitive. So I just want to make sure that the board had no heartburn with the responses that I gave him. I was just trying to get him in the right channel. And I don't want it to be perceived as somehow trying to lob a problem into Mr. Blaisdell's office or anything else. I believe that was the right answer.
I think you directed it to the right appropriate person, so, what was not,
No issue was built to approach.
Well, I had no issue.
Yeah. Well, as you said, it's elected officials, it's out of our hands.
All right, so it sounds like no heartburn with that answer.
We have no control over what that office does, besides first string. Gives us darn little control even there.
Yeah, well, I'm not really all that concerned about the department's view of it because it was an honest and I think useful approach. I just want to make sure the board was on board because I got to the point where I kind of felt like I was speaking for the board, which I didn't intend to.
Your opinion, and I agree with it.
All right. If there is nothing else from the board, we are adjourned, 10:55.